We've got to leave. Now.
What's happened?
I met with the Circle of Exobiology. They're concerned. There have been rumors.
About what?
The Ministry has seized your research, and they're planning to detain you.
On what charge?
Heresy against doctrine.
I'll fight it.
It's too late. Your supporters are frightened. No one will back you.
How's it going out there, everyone? This is W.F.S. And today we're going to talk about Distant Origins, Star Trek Voyager, Season 3, Episode 23. First, before we get into the video itself, I gotta say that the episode is solid, the script's great, the acting is superb, and it's just a damn good story. I really enjoyed it. But just because a story is good doesn't necessarily mean that it works. In other words, does the story of the Voth and how they came into being, their evolution, their escape from Earth, their migration to the Delta Quadrant, is it science? Is it actual science, or is it fantasy? Ever since I was a kid, the one thing that I was always told was that Star Trek was science fiction, while Star Wars was fantasy. And you could tell that by watching Star Wars.
Okay, the Force is dumb, but you beaming people all over the place isn't.
It's science! We convert a person or object into an energy pattern through a process called demon.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, pack your dialogue with bullshit pseudoscience.
We don't do that!
Sir, we cannot compensate for the gravimetric interference.
Not now, Geordie.
Oh, I feel like I'm in science class, but I'm getting dumber.
Yep, that's okay. Hilarious, everyone. Looks like we got more Lucas hounds here to mock Roddenberry. Congratulations, gentlemen, but I would like to see your Darth Vader take on one Borg drone. We'll see who's laughing then, am I right?
Darth Vader can put the entire Borg collective in a vice grip with his mind.
Darth Vader has asthma, so name me one Star Trek character with a respiratory disease, because I'm drawing a blank.
Getting a little off track here. Star Trek has always considered itself and prided itself on being called a science fiction series. And yet, when it comes to Voyager, more than any of the other series in Star Trek, they seem to go off the deep end when it comes to the science in this fiction. We get more fantasy than we do fiction. And Distant Origin is a clear example of how far off they were in the science.
Lying before you is proof of the distant origin theory. These remains demonstrate beyond doubt that we arose elsewhere in this galaxy, that we evolved on a faraway planet and traveled to this space millions of years ago. Our true history lost.
I've already said it, but I'll say it again. This was a real good episode. I enjoyed the story, but the problem here is that the science doesn't work. It is not possible for dinosaurs to have evolved the way that this story is telling us it did happen.
I've analyzed the aliens' DNA. There are 47 genetic markers identical to those found in human DNA.
That's more than coincidence.
I thought so too. I ran a search for those markers in Earth's paleontological database. Take a look at this.
Incredible. Their species evolved on Earth?
Apparently so. And from the look of it, you and he are distant cousins.
It's a great story, but according to science, what they are telling us here is not possible. Okay, so check this out now. In 2018, a couple of physicists, honestly, Adam Frank and Gavin Schmidt, published a formal scientific paper known as the Silurian hypothesis. And that was basically from the Silurians from Doctor Who. But the concept, they calculated exactly what footprint an advanced pre-human civilization like the Voth would leave behind if they existed millions of years ago. See, there's the thing right there. There has to be evidence to prove that such a race would exist. Even in the Star Trek world, trying to make the argument that a race of dinosaurs evolved some 65 million years ago and then somewhere along the way evolved enough that they could launch themselves into space, there would have to be some kind of footprint of their existence. They couldn't have just vanished, and they could not have just wiped out all their evidence. All right, so let's just take a look at the evidence that they promote here. The paper proves that even in an ancient species entirely cleaned up their trash, their industrial activities would leave undeniable global chemical signatures in the geological records. These include artificial carbon spikes from burning fuels, plastics, derived synthetic layers, sediment shifts from massive agricultural and localized heavy metal anomalies. One would think that in writing this episode, they would provide such evidence that such a race existed. The idea that an entire race launched itself into space, never mind going into space, evolving, and no proof, no records of any kind of a civilization besides ours existing. That just is hard to believe. And what bothers me here is the fact that this is supposed to be a science fiction show. So you would think that there would be evidence to prove such a race existed, but that is not what happened here. The episode's writers, Brandon Braga and Joe Manotsky, knew the premise was biologically and archaeologically impossible. To get around this, they explicitly wrote lines in the script to
If a saurian species had developed language and technology, you'd think they would have left something behind. But what if it evolved on an isolated continent?
A landmass that was destroyed.
Earth has been devastated by countless natural disasters over the course of its history. Asteroids, volcanoes, earthquakes. All evidence of your race could be at the bottom of the ocean.
Now, perhaps I'm wrong on this, but what I'm hearing here is that this race was off on a distant island somewhere and was able to evolve in such a way, in such a fast pace, both physically and mentally and technologically, beyond anything that humanity could do, and that there was absolutely no trace of them at all to exist? Nothing? I mean, come on. There's discovering the Dead Sea Scrolls out there. There's still so many things over there in Israel that are being discovered even today. Not just in Israel, but all around the world. Archaeological finds are being dug up all the time. So I just find it so hard to believe that this race and every inch, every aspect of their existence was completely wiped out. Distant Origins is a good episode and probably one of the best stories that Voyager has ever given us. But when it comes to the science aspect of it, it is a major letdown as far as I am concerned. The genetic markers that the doctor sees in the scans, if I understand science correctly, after 65 million years, those genetic markers, while a part of the dino DNA, should not have been as dominantly displayed as they are on this monitor here. Evolution would have changed a lot of that. And some of the science that I have read on basically says that once creatures, not just humans, but dinosaurs, let's say, dinosaurs left the planet, they exposed themselves to space and all the various contagions and biological things that they would expose themselves to out in other worlds, it would slowly start affecting their genetic structure and their DNA structure. So their dinosaur appearances would slowly start fading into something else, reshaping itself. But according to Voyager, that is not what we got here. We got a dinosaur-dominated race. And once again, from a scientific perspective, everything that I'm understanding about it says that this is not possible. Now, I know there's people out there who are going to argue with me and just basically tell me, hey, relax. It's just a television show. You need to just relax and enjoy it. And I do. But the problem is that, once again, Star Trek prides itself on being a science fiction series or franchise. And when it comes to episodes like Distant Origins or even Threshold, We have left the science behind and we have dove into the fantasy world. And again, there's nothing wrong with it, but I just think it's kind of interesting when you consider again that this is supposed to be a science fiction show. Anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts and comments, so please drop those comments below and let me know. Until the next time, my friends, God bless.